Admiral Grace Sullivan had dreamed of this moment since she was a little girl, looking up at the stars from her backyard in Ohio. Now she stood on the bridge of the Endeavour, Earth's most advanced starship, watching as the blue and gold swirl of hyperspace faded away. Before her eyes, a planet appeared that no human had ever seen in person. Thesera Prime, the capital of the Galactic Council, the heart of civilization itself. "My God," whispered Commander Kyle Bennett, standing beside her. "It's beautiful." Grace had to agree. The planet glowed like a jewel against the black of space. Massive stations orbited around it, each one larger than any city on Earth. Ships of every shape and size moved between them like fireflies, dancing in the night. This was what humanity had worked toward for 40 years. Ever since that first crackly radio message had reached Earth from a distant star, humans had dreamed of joining this community of worlds. Behind the Endeavour, 12 more ships translated out of hyperspace. Together, they carried humanity's best and brightest. Diplomats who had spent their whole lives preparing for this day. Scientists eager to share knowledge with alien minds. Artists and musicians ready to show the galaxy what humans could create. "Mom, we're being hailed," said Lieutenant Amy Sullivan from her station. Grace smiled at her daughter. Amy had worked hard to earn her place on this mission. She hadn't wanted anyone to think she was here just because her mother was the admiral. "Put it through." The view screen flickered and an alien face appeared. The Keth were crystalline beings, their bodies made of living mineral that caught and reflected light in 1,000 colors. This one wore the ceremonial robes of a high official. "Humans of Earth," the alien said, its voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "I am High Speaker Vorath of the Galactic Council. We welcome you to Thesera Prime. Today is a day of joy for all civilized peoples." Grace stepped forward. "High Speaker, on behalf of Earth and all humanity, I thank you for this welcome. We come in peace, seeking friendship and understanding." "And friendship you shall have," Vorath replied. "Please, proceed to the coordinates we are sending. The ceremony will begin shortly." The channel closed. Kyle turned to Grace with excitement in his eyes. "This is really happening. After all these years." "Stay focused," Grace said, though she was smiling too. "We still have work to do." The fleet moved into formation and descended toward the planet. Grace watched the orbital stations pass by their viewports. Each one was a marvel of engineering, built by species that had traveled the stars for thousands of years. Humanity was the newcomer here, the young child taking its first steps into a much larger world. On the surface, the ceremony took place in a vast amphitheater that could hold 1,000,000 beings. Ambassador Nathan Cole led the human delegation down a long walkway toward a raised platform where the council's leaders waited. He was a calm man, steady and thoughtful, chosen for this role because he never let his emotions control him. His aide, Dr. Megan Brooks, walked beside him, recording everything with a small device. "The architecture is incredible," she whispered. "Some of these structures are over 10,000 years old." Nathan nodded but kept his eyes forward. Beings of every shape and size filled the seats around them. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that the human mind struggled to understand what it was seeing. All of them had come to witness this moment. High Speaker Vorath stood at the center of the platform, his crystalline body glowing with inner light. Around him stood representatives of the Council's founding species. They watched the approaching humans with expressions that Nathan tried to read. Curiosity, he thought. Perhaps a little fear. That was understandable. Humanity had risen fast. In just 4 centuries, they had gone from horses and sailing ships to starships and fusion reactors. Some in the galaxy worried about what such a species might do with another 1,000 years of growth. But today was supposed to end those fears. Today, humanity would prove that it could be trusted. Ambassador Cole, Vorath said, as Nathan climbed the platform steps. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome you and your people into our fellowship. For 12,000 years, we have maintained peace among the stars. Today, we extend that peace to Earth. Nathan bowed his head respectfully. High Speaker, we are honored beyond words. Humanity has dreamed of this day since we first looked up at the night sky and wondered if we were alone. Vorath held out a crystalline hand. In it rested a small, golden object, covered in symbols from 100 different languages. The Charter of Membership. Accept this charter, Vorath said, and join your destiny with ours. Become part of something greater than any single world. Nathan reached out and took the charter. The crowd erupted in cheers and strange alien sounds that he hoped were celebrations. Beside him, Megan was crying with joy. Back on Earth, billions of people watched through video feeds, sharing in this moment of triumph. Nathan looked up at the sky, knowing that somewhere up there, Admiral Sullivan and the fleet were watching too. He wished his daughter Hannah could have been here. But she was back home, studying to become a pilot herself. He would tell her all about this when he returned. High above the planet, Grace Sullivan watched the ceremony on her view screen. She felt a warmth in her chest that she hadn't felt in years. Pride, hope, the sense that everything was going to be all right. Admiral, Amy said suddenly, her voice tight. I'm detecting something strange. Grace turned. What is it? Energy readings from the orbital stations. They're powering weapons. The warmth in Grace's chest turned to ice. That can't be right. Run the scan again. I've run it 3 times, Mom. Amy's face was pale. They're targeting us. Grace opened her mouth to give an order, but she never got the chance. The first shot hit the Endeavor like the fist of an angry god. The bridge exploded around her, fire and screaming and the terrible sound of metal tearing apart. Her last thought was of Amy. Her last sight was her daughter's terrified eyes. Then there was nothing but light. On the surface, Nathan Cole watched the sky light up with death. One by one, the human ships vanished in flashes of white fire. 3,000 people aboard the Endeavor. 500 on the Discovery, 400 on the Unity, all of them gone in seconds. The crowd around him had stopped cheering. The aliens were watching silently. Some of them were smiling. What have you done? Nathan whispered. High Speaker Vorath looked down at him with eyes like cold stars. What was necessary, he said. Humanity is too dangerous to exist. Surely you understand. Nathan felt hands grabbing him. Council soldiers in armor that glowed with strange energy. Megan was screaming somewhere behind him. The charter fell from his numb fingers and clattered on the ground. He managed to activate his emergency transmitter. One last message to Earth. They're killing us. They planned this. Tell everyone. Tell them what they did. Then the soldiers dragged him away into the darkness, and humanity's dream of peace died with him. The message reached Earth 17 hours after the massacre. It came through automated drones that Admiral Sullivan had launched in the final seconds before her death. The drones carried everything: video recordings of the ceremony, sensor data showing the attack, Ambassador Cole's last desperate words. In Geneva, President Laura Martinez watched the footage in silence. Around her, the leaders of every nation on Earth sat in stunned disbelief. Some were crying, others stared at nothing, their minds unable to accept what they were seeing. The video showed the Endeavour exploding. It showed the other ships dying one by one. It showed Nathan Cole being dragged away by alien soldiers, while High Speaker Vorath watched with cold satisfaction. When it ended, the room was silent for a long time. 4,712 people, Laura finally said. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. That's how many we sent. Scientists, diplomats, soldiers, families. They went in peace, and they were murdered. General Christopher Hayes, the head of Earth's military, stood up. He was a large man with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much war. But even he looked shaken. Madam President, we need to talk about our response. Response? The Russian representative laughed bitterly. What response? They destroyed our entire fleet in seconds. We have nothing that can touch them. That's not entirely true, said a quiet voice from the corner of the room. Everyone turned to look at Dr. Victor Crane. He was a small man with thick glasses and messy hair. Most people in the room didn't know who he was, but Laura knew. Victor ran the Prometheus Research Station, Earth's most secret military project. Explain, Laura said. Victor walked to the center of the room. He looked nervous, like he always did when speaking to crowds, but his voice was clear. 30 years ago, when we first made contact with alien life, our government made a decision. We hoped for peace. We prepared for war. He pulled out a small device and pressed a button. A hologram appeared in the air, showing technical diagrams that most people in the room couldn't understand. Project Omega, Victor continued. A weapon system designed for one purpose, to ensure that no matter what happened, humanity would never be helpless. We've been building it in secret for 3 decades. The Chinese representative leaned forward. What kind of weapon? A gravitational resonance device. When activated, it creates a pulse that causes instant structural failure in any artificial construct within its range. Ships, stations, buildings, anything built by intelligent hands collapses in on itself. And the range? General Hayes asked. Victor paused. 12 light years. The room went very quiet. 12 light years, the British representative repeated slowly. That would cover the entire Thesserosphere, Victor said. The Council's capital, their main fleet, their central government. Everything they've built over 12,000 years of civilization. Laura felt sick. She understood what Victor was suggesting. It wasn't war. It was extinction. How many would die? If they evacuate civilians? Perhaps 6 billion. Mostly military personnel and those who refuse to leave. Victor's face was pale. If they don't evacuate, the number would be much higher. This is madness, the Brazilian representative said. We can't kill billions of beings. That would make us monsters. They killed our people first, General Hayes said coldly. They invited us to a peace ceremony and murdered us. What would you have us do? Send a strongly worded letter? Arguments erupted around the room. Some demanded immediate retaliation. Others begged for caution. A few suggested surrender, though they were quickly shouted down. Through it all, Laura sat in silence, thinking. She thought about Grace Sullivan, who she had known for 20 years. Grace had been so excited about this mission. She had talked about how humanity was finally growing up, finally taking its place among the stars. She thought about Nathan Cole, who had spent his entire career working toward this moment. His daughter Hannah was only 19 years old. She would grow up without a father, because aliens she had never met decided that humans were too dangerous to live. She thought about the 4,712 names on the casualty list. Each one had been someone's child, someone's parent, someone's friend. Enough, Laura said quietly. The room fell silent. I want to make something very clear, Laura continued. I do not want to kill billions of beings. I do not want Earth to be remembered as a civilization of murderers. But I also will not allow humanity to be slaughtered like animals in a pen. She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the sun was setting over Geneva. Children were playing in the streets, unaware that their world had just changed forever. We're going to send them a message, Laura said. We're going to give them a chance to evacuate. We're going to do everything we can to minimize civilian casualties, and then we're going to show them that attacking Earth has consequences they cannot imagine. Madam President, the German representative said carefully, if we do this, there's no going back. The galaxy will never trust us again. Laura turned to face the room. Her eyes were hard. The galaxy already decided what they think of us. They decided we were too dangerous to exist. They decided to murder us before we could become a threat. She paused. Well, they were right about one thing. We are dangerous. And they're about to find out exactly how dangerous. General Hayes nodded slowly. What are your orders? Begin preparations for Project Omega. I want Admiral Patricia Walsh in charge of the operation. Dr. Crane, you'll work with her team to ensure the weapon is ready. And the timeline? Victor asked. Laura looked out the window again. The sky was turning red and gold, like fire spreading across the heavens. We wait. We prepare. We let them think they've won. And when the time is right, we remind them why they feared us in the first place. She turned back to the room. 18 months. That's how long we have to get ready. In 18 months, we end this. One strike, one message, and then we'll see what kind of galaxy we're living in. The leaders looked at each other. Some were frightened. Some were angry. But all of them understood that there was no other choice. One by one, they nodded their agreement. Humanity had come to the stars seeking friends. They had found only enemies, and now those enemies would learn the price of their betrayal. The reckoning was coming. For 18 months, Earth said nothing. The Galactic Council watched and waited for humanity's response to the massacre. They expected riots. They expected civil war. They expected the primitive species to tear itself apart in grief and rage. Instead, they got silence. High Speaker Vorath received reports every day from Council spies on Earth. The reports were encouraging. Food shortages in major cities. Political leaders arguing with each other. Military forces standing down. The humans, it seemed, had given up. They understand now, Vorath told the Council Assembly. They understand that resistance is impossible. In a generation, perhaps two, they will fade away. Another footnote in galactic history. The Assembly agreed. They had done this before, many times. Young species that showed too much potential, civilizations that grew too fast. The Council had survived for 12,000 years by eliminating threats before they could grow strong enough to challenge the established order. Humanity was just the latest in a long list. But Vorath was wrong. The silence was not defeat. It was preparation. Deep beneath the surface of the moon, in tunnels that no alien satellite could detect, humanity was building something. Factories worked day and night. Scientists pushed the boundaries of physics. Soldiers trained for a mission unlike anything in human history. Commander Daniel Porter stood in the control room of the largest construction project humanity had ever attempted. He was a tall man with tired eyes and a scar across his chin from a training accident years ago. He had lost his brother on the Endeavor. Every day he thought about that. "How's production?" he asked. Lieutenant Hannah Cole checked her displays. She was young, only 20 years old, with her father's brown eyes and her mother's stubborn jaw. Nathan Cole had been executed 3 months after the massacre, along with all the other captured humans. Hannah had demanded a place on this mission. No one had the heart to refuse her. "We're on schedule," Hannah said. "The weapon will be ready in 2 weeks." Daniel nodded. He walked to the observation window and looked out at the massive structure taking shape in the cavern below. It didn't look like a weapon. It looked like a cathedral made of metal and light. Beautiful and terrible at the same time. They called it the Silent Thunder. Not a warship. Humanity didn't have time to build a fleet that could match the Council's 80,000 vessels. Instead, they had built something far more dangerous. A delivery system for a weapon that could end civilizations. Dr. Sandra Liu joined him at the window. She was the weapon's chief architect, a genius who had spent her entire career preparing for a war she hoped would never come. Now that it had come, she worked 20-hour days to make sure humanity would win it. "Having second thoughts?" she asked. Daniel shook his head. "No, they made their choice. Now they live with the consequences." 6 billion people, Daniel. Maybe more. Even if we warn them, even if they evacuate, millions will die. "I know. Can you live with that?" Daniel turned to look at her. His eyes were hard, but not cruel. Sad, perhaps. Tired. "My brother was on the Endeavor. Hannah's father was executed on live broadcast for the entire galaxy to see. 4,000 people went to that ceremony expecting to shake hands and exchange gifts. They were murdered." He looked back at the weapon. "The Council decided that humans were too dangerous to exist. They were afraid of what we might become." Well, they were right to be afraid. And yes, I can live with what we're about to do. Because the alternative is extinction. Sandra was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. "The gravitational resonance device is stable. When we activate it, everything within 12 light years that masses more than 10,000 tons will experience instant structural failure, ships, stations, orbital habitats. All of it gone in a heartbeat. And the planets? Natural bodies won't be affected. The pulse only targets artificial structures. The people on the surface will survive." She paused. "But they'll never leave their worlds again. Every shipyard, every orbital dock, every satellite, all destroyed." Daniel nodded slowly. "That's the point. We're not trying to kill them all. We're trying to make sure they can never threaten us again." Across the solar system, President Martinez managed the deception. She appeared on news broadcasts, looking tired and defeated. She gave speeches about the need for patience and peace. She let the Council's spies see exactly what they expected to see, a broken leader of a broken people. But in private meetings with her closest advisors, she was anything but broken. "The Council is buying it," General Hayes reported. "Their fleet has stood down from high alert. They think we've given up." "Good," Laura said. "Let them relax. Let them celebrate. And when the time comes, let them remember this moment. Let them remember how confident they were." Admiral Patricia Walsh commanded the Space Forces from a hidden base in the asteroid belt. She had lost her son on the Unity. Like everyone else in this operation, she had a personal stake in what was about to happen. "The Silent Thunder is almost ready," she reported. "Commander Porter's team has done incredible work. We'll be in position within the month." Laura nodded. "And the message?" "Recorded and ready to broadcast. Every communication system in Council space will receive it simultaneously." "They'll know it's not a bluff?" Patricia smiled grimly. "After what we're about to show them, yes. They'll know." Laura leaned back in her chair. 18 months of pretending. 18 months of letting the galaxy think humanity was finished. 18 months of building a weapon that could have come from nightmares. "My grandfather used to tell me stories about the old wars on Earth," she said quietly. He always said that the most dangerous enemy is the one you think you've already beaten. The Council thinks they've won. They think we're no threat at all. She looked at the tactical display showing the location of the Silent Thunder. They're about to learn how wrong they are. In 2 weeks, the silence would end, and the galaxy would never be the same. The message arrived without warning. Every screen in Council space flickered at the same moment. Every communication device, every holographic display, every broadcast system suddenly showed the same image. A human woman with gray hair and tired eyes, sitting in a simple chair against a plain background. President Laura Martinez looked into the camera and spoke. People of the Galactic Council, 18 months ago you murdered 4,712 human beings. They came to you in peace. They came with open hands and hopeful hearts. They came because they believed that the galaxy was a place of friendship and cooperation. Her voice was calm, not angry, not threatening, just calm. You killed them anyway. On Thessara Prime, High Speaker Vorath watched the broadcast with growing unease. His aides were scrambling to find the source of the transmission, but it seemed to be coming from everywhere at once. The humans should not have had the technology to do this. You killed Admiral Grace Sullivan, who spent her entire career dreaming of this moment. You killed Ambassador Nathan Cole, who only wanted peace. You killed scientists and artists and children. And then you executed the survivors one by one, broadcasting their deaths like entertainment. The image changed. Now it showed footage from the massacre, ships exploding, bodies floating in space. Council soldiers dragging screaming humans away to their deaths. You did this because you were afraid, Laura continued. Afraid of what humanity might become. Afraid that we would grow too powerful, too fast. Afraid that we would challenge your comfortable order. Well, you were right to be afraid. On 100 worlds, billions of beings watched in confusion and growing terror. The humans were supposed to be broken. The humans were supposed to be dying. But this woman did not look broken. She looked like something far more dangerous. In exactly 6 hours, we are going to strike at the heart of your civilization. The Thessara Sphere, your capital, your fleet, your government will be destroyed. Every ship, every station. Every orbital structure within 12 light years of Thessara Prime will cease to exist. Vorath felt his crystalline body go cold. Impossible. The humans didn't have that kind of technology. They were primitives. They were nothing. This is not a bluff, Laura said as if reading his thoughts. We have developed a weapon that you cannot stop, cannot block, and cannot escape. In 6 hours it will activate, and everything you have built will fall. She leaned forward slightly. But we are not like you. We could have struck without warning. We could have killed you all in your sleep. We chose not to. Because despite what you did to us, we are not murderers of innocence. You have 6 hours to evacuate. Get your people off the stations. Get your families to safety. We suggest you use every second. The image changed again. Now it showed technical readouts, scientific data, proof that the weapon was real. Human physicists had figured out how to create gravitational resonance pulses. Human engineers had built a delivery system. Human soldiers were ready to use it. If you evacuate, the death toll will be limited. Military personnel, those who refuse to leave. Perhaps 6 billion beings, a terrible number, an unforgivable number, but far fewer than you tried to kill when you decided humanity should not exist. If you do not evacuate, if you think this is a trick, if you wait and hope we are lying, then the deaths of your people will be on your hands, not ours. Laura's face returned to the screen. Her eyes were hard. After this is done, we will not hunt you. We will not seek your destruction. We will return to our corner of the galaxy and build our civilization in peace. But know this, anyone who attacks Earth again, anyone who threatens our survival, will meet the same fate as the Thessera sphere. We came to you as friends. You made us enemies. Remember that when you watch your capital burn. The transmission ended. For a long moment, the galaxy was silent. Then chaos erupted. On Thessera Prime, evacuation sirens began to wail. Ships that had been docked for months suddenly powered up their engines. Millions of beings rushed toward transport stations, desperate to escape. High Speaker Vorath stood frozen in his chambers. His aides were screaming at him, demanding orders, but he couldn't move, couldn't think. This wasn't supposed to happen. Humanity was supposed to be finished. High Speaker! One of his generals grabbed his arm. We need to respond. Our fleet is in the target zone, Vorath whispered. 80,000 ships, all of them. Then we send them away. We disperse. There isn't time. Vorath's voice was hollow. 6 hours. Our ships need 12 hours just to reach the edge of the sphere. The general's face went pale. Then we negotiate. We surrender. We offer them whatever they want. Do you think they want anything from us? Vorath looked at the blank screen where the human president's face had been. We killed their people. We executed their ambassador on live broadcast. We laughed while their ships burned. He sat down heavily on his throne. They don't want our surrender. They want us to understand what it feels like to be helpless. And they're going to teach us. Across the Thessera sphere, the evacuation was already failing. There were too many people and not enough ships. Stations designed to hold millions had only enough transport capacity for thousands. Families were separated. Children were lost in the crowds. The orderly civilization of the Council collapsed into panic and despair. Some species refused to leave. They didn't believe the threat was real. They stayed on their stations and warships, confident that the humans were bluffing. Others tried to run but found their ships too slow. The edges of the sphere were 12 light-years away. No vessel in the Council fleet could cover that distance in 6 hours. And, on a small ship, hidden in the darkness between stars, Commander Daniel Porter watched the clock count down. 5 hours, Hannah Cole said quietly. The evacuation reports are coming in. They're getting some people out. Daniel nodded. Good. Not enough, though. The military is staying. Most of the fleet commanders think it's a bluff. It's not. Hannah was quiet for a moment. I know. Dr. Sandra Liu approached from the weapon control station. All systems are ready. The gravitational resonance device is stable. We can fire at any time. Daniel looked at her. We wait until the 6 hours are up. We gave them our word. And if they try to attack us before then, they won't find us. The stealth systems are perfect. Daniel turned back to the main screen, which showed a map of the Thessera sphere. Thousands of ships were trying to escape. Millions of beings were running for their lives. He felt no joy in what was about to happen. Only a grim satisfaction that humanity would survive, that Earth would endure, that the deaths of his brother and all the others would not be meaningless. We're not like them, he said softly. We're giving them a chance, more than they gave us. Hannah nodded. Her father's face flashed in her mind, the video of his execution that the Council had broadcast to mock humanity, the way he had stood straight and proud even at the end. Dad would have wanted us to be better than them, she said, but he also would have wanted us to survive. Then that's what we'll do. Daniel checked the clock again. 5 hours to go. Everyone get some rest. When this is over, we're going to have a lot of work to do. The crew dispersed to their stations. The silent thunder drifted in the darkness, waiting. And across the Thessera sphere, the Galactic Council learned what it meant to be afraid. The countdown reached 0. Commander Daniel Porter looked at Hannah Cole. She looked back at him. Neither of them spoke. There was nothing left to say. "Fire," Daniel said quietly. Dr. Sandra Liu pressed the activation sequence. Deep in the heart of the silent thunder, a machine that had taken 30 years to design and 18 months to build hummed to life. Reality itself seemed to shiver. And then the Thesaurosphere died. There was no explosion, no flash of light, no dramatic wave of destruction spreading across space. One moment, the Council's mighty civilization hung in the darkness between the stars. The next moment, it simply wasn't there anymore. 47,000 warships, each one capable of destroying cities, crumpled like paper crushed in a giant's fist. The great orbital stations that had orbited Thesara Prime for 12,000 years collapsed into themselves, their massive structures twisting and breaking apart. 200 military bases, countless satellites, generation ships, research stations, trading posts, all of them fell at the same instant. The gravitational resonance pulse did exactly what Sandra had designed it to do. Every artificial structure above 10,000 tons experienced instant structural failure. Metal bent, supports snapped. The works of 12,000 years of civilization became nothing more than drifting debris. On the planets below, billions of beings looked up at the sky and watched their empire fall. The death toll was enormous. 6 billion beings, most of them military personnel who had refused to believe the threat was real. Admirals who had stayed on their ships, confident that human technology couldn't touch them. Station commanders who had ordered their crews to remain at their posts. Politicians who had waited too long to evacuate. They died in seconds. Some never even knew what hit them. One moment they were alive, the next, they were gone. On Thesara Prime, High Speaker Vorath stood in his garden and watched the orbital stations fall from the sky like dying stars. Pieces of wreckage burned as they entered the atmosphere, leaving trails of fire across the heavens. The greatest civilization in galactic history was dying, and there was nothing he could do but watch. "My God," whispered one of his aides. "What have we done?" Vorath said nothing. He remembered his words from 18 months ago. Humanity is too dangerous to exist. He had been so confident, so certain that eliminating the humans was the right thing to do. Now he understood. He had been right about one thing. Humanity was dangerous, more dangerous than anyone had ever imagined. But they hadn't been a threat until the Council made them one. On the silent thunder, the crew sat in stunned silence. The screens showed the destruction spreading across the sphere, ship after ship vanishing from sensors, station after station going dark. Hannah Cole was crying. Not from joy, not from satisfaction, just from the weight of what they had done. 6 billion lives ended in an instant. It didn't matter that those beings had supported the massacre. It didn't matter that they had cheered when human ships burned. They were still people. They were still dead. Daniel put a hand on her shoulder. "It's over," he said. "Is it?" Hannah wiped her eyes. "They'll hate us forever. Every species in the galaxy will see us as monsters." "Maybe." Daniel looked at the screens. "But they'll also see us as beings who keep their promises. We gave them 6 hours. We told them exactly what would happen. We did everything we could to minimize civilian casualties. It doesn't feel like enough. It's not. Nothing would be enough. We just did what we had to do to survive." Sandra joined them at the observation window. Her face was pale, but her voice was steady. "The pulse has dissipated. We can leave whenever we're ready." Daniel nodded. "Take us home." 3 days later, President Laura Martinez addressed the galaxy again. She appeared on the same screens that had carried her warning. Her face was tired, but determined. Behind her, the Earth hung in space, blue and green and beautiful. "It is done," she said. "The Thessara sphere is no more. The Council's capital, its fleet, its government, all destroyed. This was not an act of revenge. This was an act of survival." "We did not want this. We came to you in peace, seeking friendship and understanding. You answered with murder. You left us no choice." She paused, letting her words sink in across 1,000 worlds. "But I want to make something very clear. We are not your enemies. We do not seek your destruction. We do not want to conquer your worlds or enslave your peoples. We just want to live. The beings who ordered the massacre are gone. The fleets that carried it out are destroyed. The war, such as it was, is over. We are returning to our space. We will not attack anyone who does not attack us first." Her eyes hardened. "But hear this, and remember it. Anyone who threatens Earth again will meet the same fate as the Thessara sphere. We have proven what we can do. Do not make us prove it again." She leaned forward slightly. "However, if any of you wish to speak of peace, real peace, honest peace, we will listen. We will negotiate. We will try to build something better than this blood and fire." The Council taught us that the galaxy is a dangerous place, a place where the strong prey on the weak, a place where new civilizations are murdered before they can grow. We reject that lesson. We believe that the galaxy can be better, that civilizations can live together in peace, that cooperation is stronger than fear, and we are willing to work toward that future, even after everything that has happened. She stood up. "Earth stands alone, but Earth will remain standing. And if there is anyone out there who believes in peace, who believes in cooperation, who believes that the old way of doing things was wrong, then you know where to find us. The door is open. The choice is yours." The transmission ended. On Thessara Prime, the survivors began the long work of rebuilding. Without their orbital infrastructure, without their fleet, without their government, they were starting over from nothing. It would take centuries to recover what they had lost, but they were alive. The planets had been spared. The civilian populations had survived. It could have been so much worse. Some called for revenge. Some demanded that the remaining Council forces unite to destroy humanity once and for all. But those voices grew quieter as the days passed. Everyone had seen what the humans could do. Everyone knew what would happen if they tried again. Others began to wonder if the humans had been right all along. If the Council's policy of eliminating threatening species had been wrong. If there might be a better way. On Earth, Hannah Cole visited her father's memorial. His name was carved in stone alongside the other victims of the massacre. She stood there for a long time, not speaking, just remembering. "We did it, Dad," she finally said. "We made them pay, and we survived." She thought about everything that had happened. The massacre. The 18 months of preparation. The terrible moment when the weapon fired and 6 billion beings died. The future that lay ahead, uncertain and frightening, but also full of possibility. "I hope we can do better now," she whispered. "I hope this is the end of it. But if it's not, if they come for us again," she touched her father's name one last time. "We'll be ready." And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, the galaxy watched humanity with new eyes. Fear? Yes. But also something else. Respect. Perhaps even hope. The universe had changed. The old order was gone, and humanity had arrived. Whatever came next, nothing would ever be the same.